Good morning. We continue the series of Can't We All Just Get Along? And last week we looked at the conflict between Saul and David. Today we look at the conflict between Jacob and Esau. And the scripture is from the 27th chapter of Genesis. But before I get to that, I kind of have to back up and set the scene for what's taking place here. Jacob and Esau were twin brothers. Esau was the older of the two, being born first, and as such, being the firstborn male, the inheritance under the Jewish law put him ahead of Jacob. The bulk of their father Isaac's estate would go to Esau, and Jacob would still get an inheritance, but it would not be the same. There's some intrigue working here in that Esau becomes an outdoorsman. We would call him a mountain man today, sort of a loner off to himself. He enjoys going out and hunting, not one for much family time. Jacob, on the other hand, is a quiet man, observes what's going on around him, and Jacob becomes the favorite of his mother Rebekah, and Esau becomes the favorite of his father Isaac. And so you have two brothers that are using their parental favoritism as a way of accomplishing things that they want to accomplish. But you have the mother and father that are also at work here. Rebekah recognizes that Esau stands to inherit, but she wants Jacob to have that. So she devises a plan that will result in Isaac giving up his birthright so that Jacob can have that inheritance.
Esau, you mean?
No, Jacob to have the inheritance that would have been
Esau
Esau's.
giving up his birthright.
Esau, right, Esau giving up his birthright as firstborn. Now, before the children were born, God had made a proclamation to Isaac and Rebekah, stipulating that the secondborn was to be the one to further his kingdom. And so, on one hand, you could say that Rebekah was trying to accomplish what God had in mind, but as the story unfolds, you see that that's just not the case at all. She's looking out for her son. In fact, you could say that Jacob's role as a con man, he could have acquired that from his mother, or she taught him how to do that. But as the story unfolds here, Isaac has asked Esau to go out and get some game and bring it back and to make a stew for him so that he might pass the blessing on to him. Now, he's done this in private between him and Esau. It's in opposition to what God had already proclaimed was going to happen. So you have Isaac going against God in trying to set up passing this blessing on. And you have God at work saying, no, 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 I told you the way it's going to be, and this is how it's going to work out. That's the backdrop of the scripture. So we pick it up on verse 30 of chapter 27. After Isaac had finished, oh wow, I'm getting ahead here. Yeah, okay. After Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, I didn't go far enough there. The deception takes place, and the blessing that conveys this inheritance is given to Jacob, because Isaac thinks that he's doing this to Esau. And so the scripture picks up after that has taken place.
He's almost blind at this time, isn't he?
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes, he's in his later years. He's blind and not able to get out, frail. After Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and just as Jacob left his father Isaac, his brother Esau came back from his hunt. He too made some delicious food, brought it to his father, and said, "Let my father sit up and eat from his son's game so that you may bless me." His father Isaac said to him, "Who are you?" And he said, "I'm your son, your oldest son, Isaac." Esau. Isaac was so shocked that he trembled violently. He said, "Who was the hunter just here with game? He brought me food and I ate of it before you came. I blessed him, and he will stay blessed." When Esau heard what his father said, he let out a loud, agonizing cry and wept bitterly. He said to his father, "Bless me too, my father." Isaac said, "Your brother has already come deceitfully and taken your blessing." Esau said, "Isn't this why he's called Jacob? He's taken me twice now. He took my birthright, and now he's taken my blessing." He continued, "Haven't you saved a blessing for me?" Isaac replied to Esau, "I've already made him more powerful than you, and I've made all his brothers his servants. I've made him strong with grain and wine. What can I do for you, my son?" Esau said to his father, "Do you really have only one blessing, father? Bless me too, my father." And Esau wept loudly. His father Isaac responded and said to him, "Now you will make a home far away from the olive groves of the earth, far away from the showers of the sky above. You will live by your sword, you will serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you will tear away his harness from your neck." Esau was furious at Jacob because his father had blessed him, and Esau said to himself, "When the period of mourning for the death of my father is over, I will kill my brother." Rebekah was told what her older son Esau was planning. So she summoned her younger son Jacob and said to him, "Esau, your brother is planning revenge. He plans to kill you. So now, my son, listen to me. Get up and escape to my brother Laban in Haran. Live with him for a short while until your brother's rage subsides, until your brother's anger at you goes away and he forgets what you did to him. Then I will send for you and bring you back from there. Why should I suffer the loss of both of you on one day?" And that concludes the scripture here. But there's also at work here that Esau has taken some women who are considered pagan to be his wives at this time.
What's the difference between a birthright and a blessing? They're two different things?
They're two different things, but in this case, they're conveying the same thing. And that is the bulk of
Estate.
Isaac's estate. But there's also the calling for prosperity that was in that blessing, and good to come to Jacob. That you could say, in passing this blessing on, that Isaac is conveying a blessing from God. Even though Isaac was trying to convey it to the one that God didn't want to be conveyed to. There's a reference in the blessing that Esau does receive from his father. In the older translations, it says that doesn't say that you will serve your brother, but it says that you will be yoked to your brother, or yoked under your brother. And many people today probably wouldn't know what this is, and I probably have to take it up here closer so that you all can see what I have in my hand here. It's a miniature ox yoke. A friend of mine made this for me many years ago. We were working together on the walk to Emmaus, and Bill Brewer had taken liking to me. He considered me a brother, and he made this for me. And when he gave it to me, he said, "I wanted." He was not giving it to me in a manner of the way this blessing was given, of servitude, at least not in a negative way. He said, made this a double yoke. If you only had one ox, you'd only have one yoke there to hook up to. But he said, I want you to know that our lives are yoked together. And whenever you look at this, to remember the time and that our lives have been entwined together. It stays in my top drawer of my desk among the other clutter there, and it comes to surface, and I remember Bill and the times that we had together. But that's the reference that's there, and that that yoke will be broken, that there will come a time when Esau will no longer be bound to his brother Jacob in that way. And as the story goes on and unfolds, after Jacob has been away for a while, he returns home in, you might say, a cowardly way. And that as he's returning home, he's not sure how his brother's going to receive him. And so he puts all of the cattle and livestock out in front of his caravan. And then behind them, he puts all of his wives and his children. It's only then that he brings up the rear. And his reasoning is that if Esau's still angry, that he'll vent all that anger on the livestock and the cattle and the children and women before he gets to me, and he'll have vented some of that anger there. So not his finest moment. Of course, Jacob had a lot of those moments that were not his finest moments as you read his story. But God intervenes, and this broken relationship is restored. There's no reference in Scripture of any interaction that Esau has with God. Yet, the way this reunion takes place, you can only assume that God has been at work in Esau's life, whether Esau was conscious of it or not. And so, while the principles in this whole story, and I think this is the point that we need to get out of this, while the principles in this story are all working for their own individual goals. Rebecca wants Jacob to be the crown prince, so to speak. Jacob wants everything he can get. Esau is just kind of happy-go-lucky, not without any purpose, but he's a little upset that he got his inheritance taken away from him. And then Isaac, who's trying to control things rather than do it the way that God has him. Each individual working at cross purposes to God, and God doesn't intervene to stop any of this, but he does make things work so that his goal of the heritage coming through Jacob, that continues to play out, and that there is a reunion that takes place between the brothers, and that they live in harmony after that, because God has been at work here. Any thoughts or observations about this story?
Did Isaac have any more children besides those two?
Yeah, it references, he says, to your brothers, indicating that there were other children.
It's almost like the prodigal son in reverse. Esau was the prodigal son, but he stayed with his father. Jacob was the one who was sent away, but he owns the property. So he comes back, but Esau took care of the property the whole time that Jacob was away, even though he was a recipient of the results of it, because Jacob had the
That's
blessing
true. I
and,
hadn't thought about that.
and the inheritance.
Even though
he
inherited,
was
he went
away,
away.
at his cousins or uncles or whatever, laymen, and therefore he wasn't even there to help watch out for his interests. Esau stayed there and did all of the work, kept the thing going, even probably after Isaac's death, and he wasn't going to benefit from what he was doing because he was taking care of it for his brother. Even though it's family ties, and you respect what your parents have already told you, and he was respecting his parents by Isaac by keeping the family inheritance and all intact, and his, I guess, had brothers and all too that he had to oversee because he and Jacob were the two oldest.
One thing is not clear, while there were brothers there, to answer your question, Jen, one thing is not clear is whether there were any more children born between Rebekah and Isaac. That I don't know. But Isaac had other children. Well, we'll see where Pastor Don goes with this. I'll tell you that you can look ahead. Next week, the conflict that we look at is the conflict within the disciples. And there are 3 different accounts of this division within the disciples. But we'll be looking at that next week. So may God's blessings be upon you.